Leo, I'd like to start with a simple question. Have you ever met someone who studied English for years but still felt nervous speaking with native speakers?
Oh, many times. And honestly, I think almost every English learner experiences that at some point. They usually know a lot more English than they think they do, but the moment a real conversation begins, they suddenly lose confidence.
I agree. It's interesting because the problem usually isn't grammar. It's often the difference between learning English and using English. Those are two very different things.
Exactly. A textbook teaches you how the language works. Real life teaches you how people actually use it. And those aren't always the same.
That's a great point. Let's imagine a very common situation. You walk into a coffee shop, the person behind the counter smiles and asks, "How's it going?" Now, if you learned English only from a textbook, you might stop and think, wait, are they asking about my entire day?
Or maybe you start giving a detailed answer. Well, I woke up at 7 this morning, then I took the bus. Meanwhile, the cashier is just waiting to know whether you want a latte or a cappuccino.
Exactly. In that situation, "how's it going?" is simply another way of saying hi. A short answer like "pretty good," "doing well," or even "not bad, how about you?" sounds completely natural.
And here's something important for everyone watching. Native speakers often don't expect long answers to these greetings. They're being friendly, not starting a deep conversation.
That's true. English has many greetings that don't really require detailed answers. "What's up?" "How have you been?" "How's everything?" They're invitations to start talking, not requests for a full report.
I remember when I first realized that. I thought every question deserved a complete answer. Now I understand that conversation is more about rhythm than perfection.
I love the word rhythm. Let's explain that for our viewers. When we say conversation has rhythm, we mean it has a natural flow. People take turns speaking. Sometimes they answer briefly, sometimes they ask questions back. Everything moves comfortably.
That's a useful word to remember, rhythm. Not just for music, but also for conversations. If you focus on the rhythm instead of trying to build perfect sentences, speaking becomes much easier.
Absolutely. Another thing textbooks often do is teach very formal expressions first. Those expressions are correct, but people don't always use them every day.
That's true. For example, many learners memorize, "I would like to inquire about." Technically, that's correct, but most people would simply say, "I wanted to ask about," or "Can I ask you something?"
Both are perfectly natural. They're shorter, they're warmer, and they sound more conversational.
Here's another example. A textbook might teach, "I am unable to attend." In everyday English, people usually say, "I can't make it."
That's a great expression. "I can't make it." It doesn't mean you physically can't make something. It means you won't be able to go somewhere or attend an event.
Exactly. For example, "Sorry, I can't make it to dinner tonight." That's something you'll hear all the time.
Let's pause for a second. Leo, could you repeat that expression one more time? I think it's worth hearing again.
Of course, "I can't make it."
Perfect. That's also something learners shouldn't be afraid to do. If someone speaks too quickly, it's completely okay to ask them to repeat themselves.
Definitely. You can say, "Sorry, could you say that again?" Or "Could you repeat that, please?" Those are polite, natural expressions that native speakers hear every day.
And surprisingly, native speakers ask each other to repeat things all the time. It's not only English learners. Sometimes there's background noise, sometimes someone speaks too fast, sometimes you simply miss a word.
Exactly. Asking for clarification isn't a sign of weak English. It's actually part of good communication.
That's another useful expression, clarification. Clarification means making something easier to understand. So if you ask for clarification, you're simply asking someone to explain something more clearly.
And good communicators do that all the time. They don't pretend they understood. They ask questions.
I think that's one of the biggest mindset changes learners need. Instead of thinking, "I have to speak perfectly," try thinking, "I just need to communicate." Those are very different goals.
I couldn't agree more. Communication is the goal. Perfection isn't. If the other person understands you, you've already succeeded.
You know what else I've noticed? Many learners spend so much time translating every sentence in their heads that they stop listening.
That's a really common habit. While you're mentally building the perfect sentence, the conversation is already moved on.
Exactly. Real conversations happen in real time. People react. They interrupt politely. They laugh. They change the subject. Everything feels alive.
That's why I always encourage learners to collect phrases instead of isolated words. Instead of memorizing only the word actually, learn how people really use it. For example, Actually, I think you're right. Or, actually, I've never tried that. Those complete phrases are much easier to remember.
I completely agree. Language isn't just vocabulary, it's patterns. The more patterns you recognize, the more naturally you'll speak.
And the best place to learn those patterns isn't always a grammar book. It's listening to conversations, podcasts, interviews, and everyday discussions like this one.
Exactly. That's why we're having this conversation today, not to teach complicated grammar rules, but to help everyone become comfortable with the English people actually speak every single day.
And we've only scratched the surface. There are so many small habits native speakers use that can completely change how natural your English sounds. One thing that completely changed the way I approached English was realizing that native speakers don't always choose the perfect sentence. They choose the sentence that's easiest and most natural to say.
That's such an important point. Many learners believe advanced English means using longer words or more complicated grammar, but that's usually not true. Advanced speakers often sound simple. The difference is that they sound natural.
Exactly. Let's compare two examples. Imagine someone asks you if you'd like to go out this weekend. A textbook answer might be, I would be delighted to accompany you.
Which is grammatically correct, but honestly, it sounds like something from a movie set 100 years ago.
Right. In everyday life, you'd probably hear, sure, I'd love to, or sounds good, or even, yeah, I'm in.
I'm in. That's another fantastic expression. It simply means I want to participate. For example, we're ordering pizza tonight. I'm in. Or we're going hiking this Saturday. I'm in.
It's short, it's friendly, and you'll hear it everywhere.
Here's another difference between textbook English and real conversations. Textbooks often teach complete answers. Real conversations usually don't.
That's true. If someone asks, did you watch the game? A textbook answer might be, yes, I watched the game yesterday evening. But in real life, yeah, I did. Absolutely. I missed it. Not yet. That's usually enough.
Because conversations keep moving, people naturally ask follow-up questions if they want more information.
Exactly. Native speakers don't usually explain everything at once. They build the conversation together.
That's a beautiful way to describe it. A conversation isn't a speech, it's something two people create together.
And that's why listening is just as important as speaking. Sometimes learners focus so much on what they're going to say next that they forget to really hear the other person.
I completely understand that feeling. When you're nervous, your brain is busy trying not to make mistakes. But one thing that helps is becoming curious. Instead of thinking, what should I say? Try thinking, what is this person trying to tell me?
That small change makes a huge difference, because once you're truly listening, your answer usually comes more naturally.
Let's talk about another habit native speakers have. They react constantly, even when they're not speaking very much.
That's right. While someone else is talking, you'll often hear little expressions like, really? I see. That makes sense. No way. Interesting. Right. Oh, I didn't know that. These are called conversation fillers or reaction phrases. They show that you're engaged in the conversation.
Exactly. Without them, conversations can sound a little cold. Imagine telling a story while the other person stays completely silent. It would feel strange.
Very strange. Even a simple, oh wow, or I get it, keeps the conversation alive.
Speaking of I get it, there's another expression I love. I get what you mean. It doesn't mean you physically received something. It means I understand your idea.
That's something you'll hear every day. And speaking of everyday English, let's talk about contractions.
Good idea. Textbooks often write I am, you are, they will, but real conversations are full of I'm, your, they'll, we've, I'd, I've.
If you listen carefully to native speakers, contractions are everywhere. They're one of the biggest reasons spoken English sounds faster than written English.
Exactly. And here's some good news. You don't have to force yourself to speak incredibly fast. Instead, try speaking naturally. Your speed will improve over time.
That's something learners sometimes misunderstand. Speaking fast doesn't automatically make you sound fluent. Speaking clearly does.
I couldn't agree more. In fact, many native speakers slow down naturally when they're explaining something important. Communication always comes first.
Let's imagine another situation. You meet someone at work for the first time. Instead of preparing a long introduction, you could simply say, "Hi, I'm Leo. Nice to meet you. I just joined the team. I'm excited to be here." That's enough to begin.
Exactly. The other person will usually ask another question. Maybe, where did you work before? Or what do you do? Conversations grow one question at a time. You don't have to tell your whole life story in the first minute.
That's another common mistake learners make. They think every answer has to be long. Actually, short answers often sound more confident.
I like that. And confidence doesn't come from knowing every word. It comes from feeling comfortable using the words you already know.
Absolutely. Sometimes learners ask me, when will I finally sound like a native speaker? And my answer surprises them. I tell them that's not the best goal.
I agree. The goal isn't to become someone else. The goal is to communicate naturally and confidently while still sounding like yourself. Your accent tells part of your story. There's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly. People from different English-speaking countries have different accents too. Communication matters much more than sounding identical to someone else.
Before we finish today's conversation, I'd like to leave everyone with one practical challenge. Tomorrow, instead of memorizing 20 new vocabulary words, learn 3 complete expressions. For example, I'm looking forward to it. It depends. That makes sense. Practice saying them out loud until they feel comfortable.
That's excellent advice. Little by little, those expressions become automatic. And once they become automatic, conversations become much less stressful.
Learning English isn't about collecting thousands of words. It's about building habits. Every conversation you have teaches you something new. Every mistake helps you improve. Every small success builds your confidence.
So don't wait until your English feels perfect. Start speaking now. Use simple sentences. Smile. Ask questions. Listen carefully. And remember that every fluent speaker was once a beginner too.
We hope today's conversation helped you understand that real-life English is often simpler, friendlier, and more natural than textbook English. The more you listen to authentic conversations, the more these expressions will become part of your own English.
And don't forget, fluency isn't about using difficult words. It's about connecting with people. That's what language is really for.
Thank you so much for spending time with us today. We truly appreciate you choosing to practice your English with us.
If you enjoyed this conversation, please give this video a like and subscribe to the English Talk channel for more real-life English conversations, listening practice, and speaking tips.
Keep practicing a little every day. Stay curious, and most importantly, don't be afraid to speak. We'll see you in the next conversation.
Take care, keep learning, and goodbye for now.